from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You know, whether you've had Gatorade in a glass bottle or you've had some Lucozade, or, you know, however, you know, if you may enjoy that Kirkland signature. You say, oh boy, give me some Kirkland pour me a Kirkland signature and whatever. I don't even know what it's called. And by the way, make mine a 0. And if you say, I don't even think this gentleman knows what he's talking about, you're probably correct, because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. The reason the show exists is because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve the rest you need to make your life more manageable. You deserve a bedtime you don't have to dread. A bedtime you could look forward to or at least feel neutral about. I'm here to try to do that for you. This show is not everybody's cup of tea, but give it a few tries before and see how it goes. Because the show is very different. I mean, you probably already noticed that. And structurally, what to expect, we'll have some support. That's how the show comes out twice a week for free. Then a long, meandering intro. Don't miss out on the intro. It's meant to ease you into bedtime. It's a show within a show. I know some people, they hear the support and then they want to skip ahead to the sleepy stuff, but it's really a process. And that's what I've learned over the years. And that's what a lot of regular listeners who are here with us right now, they know what it feels like in the deep, dark night, too. And they hope this podcast works. If you already can't stand me, that's normal too. I would say still give the show a few tries, because that's what most people say. But if you say, no, this definitely isn't for me, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you has other sleep podcasts on there. But give it a try, see how it goes. I'm here to keep you company and be your friend in the deep, dark night. So let's see how it goes. Thanks for coming by. And here's a couple of ways we're able to do it for you for free twice a week. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. I am recording from my car because my apartment flooded, and I don't think I have access to the closet, the climbing closet where I record the show for another week or two. And it's a good reminder. I am dedicated. I love making Sleep With Me. I love being here on a regular basis. I love putting you to sleep. The only way I do it, though, is with listener support. And the listener support has allowed me to not have to worry. Like some of our equipment got damaged. I'm kind of, in transition as far as my living situation goes. But I know I could sit in my car and record and get some stuff done and keep the show going. But I can't keep the show going alone. So if you can afford to support the show, you get value out of the show, you want more Sleep With Me, or you want to interact on Discord, whatever it is, please become a patron. Because with the patrons, if you're listening and you're already a patron or you were in the past, thanks. Because I would not be as calm as I am now if it wasn't for the support of the listeners. Or I wouldn't be making the show. I'd be going into my day job and then coming home and dealing with not coming home, but whatever. I wouldn't have to worry about a climbing closet or recording in my car. But I love making this show. I love putting you to sleep because I've been there, particularly recently. So flood or no flood, I can't do it without you, but I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. If you want to support the show, if you want to help keep the show going, please sign up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, the one part of the podcast where I pop my peas, if you please. I thank the listeners who supported the sponsors. That's really how we come out free twice a week. Right now, I don't have any people who supported the sponsors to thank. And, of course, I don't have my piece of paper that I had everybody else I was going to thank. But I want to thank everybody who's been filling out the survey on our sponsor site, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. And if you I guess the main thing I've been hearing is from people that are not in a position to support the show is how much they value it and how much they get out of it. And almost every person is either a person that just gets value out of the podcast. Maybe they're not in a place where they can support the podcast or support the sponsors right now. But they wanted to let me know how they felt about the show. And I really, really appreciate that. And the show will remain free no matter what I have to do. But we could use some support. If you're in a position to support the the show, please think about supporting the podcast directly or support one of our sponsors and let them know about it. Or if you're in a position to support the show, if you could even just fill out the survey and let me know, give me more information of that would be huge. Like any action you take is going to help move the podcast forward. Just like the people who say, hey, I can't afford the show, but I get a lot out of it. It really means a lot to me. It's a huge part of my life. That means I'll just figure stuff out. But if you're in a position to support the show, now's the time to take action. Either support the show directly or support one of the sponsors and let them know about it, or let me know about it. Fill out the form at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. So you'll hear me thanking people here coming up on the next couple ones. But that's the first part of Sleepy Supporter Zone. The second part is you getting the support you need right now. If you're in need of extra support right now, there's links to resources in the show notes you can access, including international resources. It's also about being a part of positive change, being a part of a community, and taking action, not just saying Black Lives Matter, not just saying stop AAP, I hate, not just saying support Ukraine, but taking action. There's links to resources where you can do that in our show notes. And one of the things we're doing as a community is building hygiene kits and supporting the Midnight Mission, which is a shelter in downtown Los Angeles. And if you want to take part in that, you could use the links right in our show notes. You could sign up for the newsletter. You could support the Midnight Mission directly. You could purchase things through their Amazon wish list, or you could learn more and then you could take action. So please use the links in our show notes for that. And that's it. What do you say, Mr. Bard? A lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
This posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mr. Bard. Remember, if you're looking for sleep phones, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. You get those Sleep With Me branded sleep phones with different Sleep With Me sayings on there. And you could save $5. Use the promo code Sleep With Me. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts on your mind that you're thinking about. You know, thoughts about the past, the present, the future. Thoughts, that are on your mind, that are coming up. That say, hey, by the way, I noticed you lying down and trying to go to sleep. I had a couple of things I wanted to bring up right now. Is it not? Your thoughts, even if they say, is now a good time, they never mean it. And also, it seems like there is a positive way to use is now a good time, but most of the time it says, especially at bedtime, but even in other situations, to say, subconsciously, I'm noticing you're in a rush and you're about to go. Is now a good time? What your thoughts mean, what I believe your thoughts mean, or what I mean is like, I'm really feeling some intense feelings, so I want to bring this up. So now's a good time for me because I don't think I'm emotionally, equipped to wait for this. So is now a good time? And that's the same thing with our thoughts. A lot of times I call them, what do I call them? Brain bots, because they kind of have one function. They zoom around in your brain. They, some people may say they're a little bit of maladaptive things. They say, well, I used to do this back when you were 11. and I'm still functioning. I don't know if they run on solar, fission, fusion, and solar, wind, by geothermal. They do it all. So they're still running. And they are lovable. That's why I call them brain bots, and I say they're zooming around, because usually when something's zooming around, for the most part, that's cute. And our brain bots are cute. They just don't know any other way. And really, that's the real part of the show that works, is I'm here to keep them company. And I say, gather around, brain bots. Come on. Oh, yeah, I did say you're zooming. Oh, boy, look at you zooming around. That is cute, and it probably takes some skill and talent. How do you do that? How do you zoom like that? Have you ever zoomed on Zoom? Oh, cool, yeah. Isn't there a song? Have you ever zoomed to that song? Is that the song? You don't know. Okay. Well, I'm going to do a bedtime story. I never really get to the point. Maybe you could monitor all the mistakes I make. But yeah, whether it's thoughts, it could be feelings. I don't know if any brain bots are having feelings. It could be physical sensations, changes in time, temperature, routine. You could have something coming up. You could be going through something. Whatever it is, the reason I run through that stuff is so you know you're not alone in the deep, dark night. And it may feel that way. And it may be, this is a weird digital version of that, but the truth is, two things I said at the beginning. You deserve a good night's sleep, enough sleep so your life is more manageable, and you could be out there living your life. That is very, very important. And, it means that your world will be a better place to be in, and that means our whole world's a better place. The other side of it is, while I might not know exactly what you're going through, I can probably relate to how it feels. And if I can't relate to how it feels, somebody listening right now can. And for most of us, we're nodding and leaning in, maybe I'm holding my hands together right now because I say, yeah, it's tough. It's not easy. So that's why I make the show, and why like a lot of the other people that are regular listeners that go out of their way to support the show financially and stuff, that's why they're here too. They say, yeah, this is one of the things about Sleep With Me that helps. And then what I do is I'll send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. And like I said, the show doesn't work for most people. Give it a few tries, see how it goes. That's just what... I don't think millions of people have said it, but probably over 1 million people have said that to me. At first, I just didn't like the show, or I didn't understand. Or I was wondering, when's the sleepy part start? Where's the bedtime story? What are you going on and on and on about? And that makes sense, because if you've had trouble sleeping like I have, you've tried a lot of different stuff. You're skeptical, you're doubtful, you're fed up. So you get to this show and you hear me rambling, yeah, you're going to probably have some strong feelings about that. So that's understandable. And that's part of what this intro is. And it is part of the strange thing about the show. This is a podcast you don't really listen to, but you could listen to it. I'm just barely listenable. Like some people listen to me at a mumble. Some people listen to me under their pillow or across a room. But a lot of people are listening along, but they're not paying total attention. They're like, yep, zoomy zoom, yeah, like just like that. You say, okay, because you don't need to listen to me. Just like kind of like an out of focus image or something. You say, but you don't mind. You say, well, that's not bad. I don't need to figure out what that image is. I'm generally aware that it's some sort of scene, with grays and hues of purple and some orange. And so maybe it's a sunrise over a mountain. Maybe it's a sunset. Maybe it's, I don't know. But that's fine. I like it the way it is. So it's a show you barely listen to. There's also no pressure to fall asleep. That's why the show is over an hour. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep, not to put you to sleep, to be your friend, your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore bud, your bore bestie, your neighbor, your borbra, your neighbor, your borber, your friend, to keep you company. Just like if you called me, you said, hey, just talk to me for a while. I want to feel like somebody's around, but I don't really want to pay attention to them. I don't want to have to clean up after you or make sure, so, is that okay? And I say, that's what this show's for, because normally you could ask for that once, but you couldn't ask for somebody to do it for you on a nightly basis. I don't think. I mean, if there's somebody doing that on a nightly basis, give them an award. Holy mackerel. Because, that's some commitment. They must, that's an amazing person. But so that's why I do it in podcast form. They say no pressure to listen, no pressure to fall asleep. I'll be here for over an hour. If you need a break during the day or you can't sleep at all, I'll be here to the very end to keep you company. What else throws people off? And most people don't like me at first, don't listen to the show, it doesn't put you to sleep. Give me some more good news. Okay, I'll tell you about the structure of the show. And the reason the show's structured the way it is just a benefit to most people it can. And what we've seen over time, over 1,200 episodes or so, what has worked. And it is slightly adjustable as you become a regular listener. But if you're new, let me tell you why we do the way we do the things we do or whatever. Show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So you feel seen and welcomed in. I might say something silly. I might, not know what I'm talking about, but you say, oh, okay, I could check this podcast out and see what it is. So that's the greeting. Then there's support for the show because it does take a team of people working really hard to put this show out twice a week and make it sound free and easy. And the support means that you can listen for free. So that's that part. Then this is separate from the support. But sometimes when people object to the support, they lump the intro in with it. But the intro goes for about 10 to 20 minutes long. It's a show within a show. And for regular listeners, it's really a part of their bedtime routine or the part of the show they actually hear. So it is an important part of the show. But again, as you become a regular listener, you could adjust. But the reason the intro exists is to introduce you to the podcast if you're new. But if you're a regular listener or you're a pet of a regular listener, like What Up My Fishes, or other pets, when I say fishes, I mean all pets, fishes specifically, but that's also a shout out to all pets are great. I forgot what I was talking about, because actually, talk about Matt, my dog just came down the stairs to check on me, but then she didn't pop her head into the closet that I record in, but whatever, she'll pop her head in sooner or later. Okay, so where was I? Why do we make the show the intro goes on and on and on. For regular listeners, it's a part, but for anybody, really what it is like the twilight of the podcast. It's a buffer between being awake and going to sleep, which has been shown to work as having a bedtime routine. And maybe this part of the podcast could be part of your bedtime routine, whether you're getting ready for bed, you're doing some other chill activity, you're in bed getting comfortable, you're in bed falling asleep. That's what the intro serves to do, to help you wind down, to lower the volume on the day, and to ease you into bedtime. Now, 2% of people skip the intro. So you could do that as you become a regular listener, and maybe probably 2% of people fall asleep during the intro. But a lot of people listen to intro-only episodes on our Patreon. So it's kind of like just see how it goes at first, and then you say, oh, okay, now I know what I like. That's why we have so many shows in the archives, too. Because eventually, if you become a regular listener, you say, well, I like these styles of episodes. That's why we work so hard to stick to our release schedule, put out different kinds of content, so that there's something for everybody. And then you can go back and say, oh, I like this style episode, but also rediscover new favorites or discover new favorites through rediscovery. So that's the intro. That's what the purpose it serves. That's why it goes on and on and on. Because some people say there's just 30 minutes and nothing at the beginning of the sleep podcast, or just 30 minutes of ads or something, which just isn't accurate. But I understand when you're sleepless and you're skipping around, why you'd feel that way. But that's why I take the time to kind of explain it, because this is kind of like a gently placing you in the crib, just like you would a baby. Not that I would place you in a crib. And not that you're a baby, but that general concept of saying, here, let's ease you in here, get you comfortable. So that's the intro. Then after the intro is support again, so the show can come out free twice a week. Then there'll be our bedtime story. Tonight will be our episodically modular series, Make Great Pets, which pets already came up, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, so we'll be talking about pets being great and helping people in an indirect way. And then the show ends with some thank yous. So that's why I make the show. That's what to expect. I'm so glad you're here. I really appreciate you coming by and checking this podcast out. I really hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by and give me your time. And here's a couple of ways we're able to do it for you for free twice a week. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots. I'm going to try. I didn't write this, but this would be like an old school ad. You know, hey, we've got a great deal for you coming up here. Do you want a podcast that you listen to on a regular basis? You're listening to it right now. Puts you to sleep or keeps you company throughout the night. Maybe you've been listening to this podcast for years. Have you tried super expensive sleep solutions, paid stuff, all sorts of salves, lotions, sprays, expensive equipment? And then you found a free podcast that works for you? Well, what if you could have more Sleep With Me? 4 or 5 nights of Sleep With Me content, including stuff that only supporters get, and you could get it at 16% off. Wait, you say 16% off zero? Well, yeah, you could go zero for sure. But if you want more content, all intro episodes, story-only episodes, all that stuff, and you say, oh, wait a second. Yeah, this thing is way more valuable to me than all the other stuff I tried that I actually had to pay for. I don't know. You could look at it like a freemium model, or you could say, I love Sleep With Me. Of course I want to support it. Or, hey, I want more Sleep With Me content. I want to see what this Patreon's all about. Sign up right now, because you only have till the end of this month to get that 16% off annual subscriptions. You'll get a whole year of Sleep With Me for the cost of whatever, 10 months. Do not wait. sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, 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 and then set up your Patreon bonus content right in your podcast app, or download Pocket Casts. It's an amazing free podcast app, or Podcast Addict, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever your podcast app is, the Patreon content, you listen to it right in that app. You don't need a special app. You don't have to do anything. It's just a few steps. It's super simple. So sign up. And by the way, sign up. Make sure you use Apple Pay or what is that called? PayPal. Make it way easier for you. But yeah, sign up right now. Do not miss out. sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Patron. Is that what it is? Sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. All right, everybody, Scoots here. It's time for our episodically modular series, Make Great Pets. I almost said Nuns in Space. And I'm really gearing up for some non-fiction that's coming out. Not non-fiction, you silly goose. Non-fiction. Or fiction with nuns in it. I don't know if you, like I saw the trailer, so I'm really excited. But when you're hearing this, it'll probably be already out. Mrs. Davis. It comes out April 20th. It's March 3rd when I'm recording this. Anyway, that's what I got on my brain. So check it out. It'll be on Peacock. And you might say, like, you might be saying, Poppycock, Scoots, what are you talking about? And I say, well, what I thought, the other thing that I was thinking of, I forgot. Nun-based fiction. Nothing making sense. Oh, the episodically modular. This is like a little bit chance to get episodically I want to sit down and talk to you about episodically modular stuff real quick. I'm not even kidding. This is a rare moment, and hopefully you're sleeping through it or you're relaxing. You know, Scoots is human. But the idea of episodically modular, some people think I've never gotten an email with anything about snark, but it is not snark. And I remoduled an episode. I listened to it twice, once yesterday, then again today, and then I listened to half of it today after. On my way to the grocery store and on my way home, while walking Koa. Anyway, those details are only important in a sleep podcast. But so I remoduled an episode or episodic, and instead of wherever episodically would be, whatever letter, I put it in a different spot. Because I said, I think that episode would fit better here. Now that I'm contemplating it, I said it could go there, and then, or it could go there. And now it could go where I was listening to it to go. But I said, well, this is like the beauty of grocery shopping, bathing, walking animals, walking, and listening to the show multiple times, episodes that are done with that are getting ready to go out on Patreon. It struck me. I said, well, I do think I'm feeling a certain number, and it's not the number, the episode, the order it was recorded in thus far. And it wasn't even, it was a 90, and then I gave myself time while I was at the grocery store to have the freedom from the smarter part of me, which is not, was, subconscious or whatever. I said, what about not moving it? And then I went grocery shopping, and not with a plan to, like I just said, now I got a grocery shop. And what happened was when I came out of the store, I said, okay, let's listen again. And, but I said, you're right. I'm feeling that number you said, not this number. Now this episode, oddly enough, won't go into, and I did have to change but this episode's number won't be changed because it hasn't been made. It's being made as we speak. Though I did have a file, I did have a folder for it. So, but this episode could get moved too, but the number of slots this particular episode could go into is low. Well, I guess technically it's not lower, but this episode is likely to go in most likely to go in, not the slot the other episode was in, but then a different one. Or, yeah. It could go in one of 3 slots because probably only 2 slots because, yeah. So I didn't mean to go super off topic. I mean, I did because it works for Sleep With Me. But just if you think sometimes, especially people on Patreon, they ask a lot of these in-depth questions during the day. So they've heard kind of how I record episodes or what happens. But just in case you thought I was joking, when I do, like I said, no, I'm not, I'm not convinced I, invented episodically modular. I just took the idea of classroom modules and episodic and things I barely know the definition of. And I said, I think listeners would like that freedom to know the episodes actually can be moved. And in this case, was more than likely moved. It hasn't come out yet, even on Patreon. Because what happens is I listen to episodes, I record the episodes, then I log the episodes, ideally right after I record them on a log, not a physical one, but on a computer. Then whatever this FTP thing or something. Then I upload the episodes to another location to assign to one of the 2 editors who work on the show. Then probably, maybe for this less than 2 months from now, but somewhere in the next, for a regular episode, then somewhere in the next 2 months, they would download the files, which are large because they're uncompressed. And then they would edit it and take out a lot of stuff that has to get removed, like me clearing my throat or pauses that are too long or a second take. And then they upload those files that are edited. And then I download those again. Those are still uncompressed files. Again, but they're gone through a different kind of compression, not related to the file size. They've been, I don't know, how did I get in? Once I start talking, I can't stop myself. I guess so then I download the files eventually. Then I assemble them because they're in parts. Like the parts are labeled, but, and actually, a little bit interesting, each editor labels the parts differently. But for the most part, it's an intro episode. There's intro episode, thank yous, teaser. And then there's parts to the teaser. And then I put the music in, the theme music, or what goes on in the free show. I put in the supporter zone. But before I do all that, I make a basic edit. I assemble it basically, and then I download it. Pretty close. I mean, the same assembly style that the patrons would listen to, or ad-free episode. But it's not the final one, so it has like weird numbers on it. Like I randomly put in zeros and A's at the start of the file name, so that when I upload it to the thing I use to listen to the episodes, they go closer to the top. These are details of why I make the should talk about episodically modular. This isn't even related to, and I'd say, this is not, how is this? And I say, you know what? You're right. It's not related to the series coming up here. But yeah, then I listen to it, and then I take, if I'm walking the dog, I go back and forth between a notebook or just taking screenshots. I find taking screenshots to be very effective of just the player and what time it is. And then I go back again and I see what happened around 16:17. So I probably would start it at 15 minutes in and listen to 16:17 or 16:40 and say, I wonder what I was thinking at the time. I guess I could mark up the photos. But that works pretty well. And then I'll make those changes. Then I'll get the Patreon episode ready. Then I'll get the Apple Podcast subscriber episode ready. Then I'll get the free episode ready. And that's how an episodically modular episode gets born, everybody. So episodically modular is, I'm being honest with you, that you could move these around. So if you're new and you see a number of this episode, which I'm pretty sure is episode 8, but it wasn't. Like, if you would have asked me 2 hours ago what episode number was, it wouldn't have been 8. It would have been 9. So I think you can do some deduction from there. Yeah, this was scheduled to be episode 9. Now, it should be episode 8. Can't guarantee it will be, though, because who knows what's going to come out of the story swamp in the next, so episodically modular, if you're new and you listen to all that, all it means is that you can listen to episodes in any order. Which, not to totally stay off topic, but I've been reading a lot of comic books lately and Agatha Christie separately, not at the exact same time, because that would be. But so I've been reading comic books, like older comic books that were whatever, that anyway, comic books in a series. And Tommy and Tuppence books, which is two characters from Agatha Christie. And both of those repeatedly show me the way of, like, setting things up. Like, you wouldn't think that in the middle of a limited run of a comic book from, like, the 1980s, they would need to reset stuff up. But they knew, just like at Sleep With Me, you need an intro. Even if you do it, like, sprinkle it in, that they knew what they were doing, and so did Agatha Christie. You get to know Tommy and Tuppence again every single time, and actually, as it makes you appreciate, like, if you're getting to know a character you already know a little bit better, even if you're hearing part of the same story told in a new way, or a comic book character, like how they got where they were today, or even, hey, who this person is, just in case you never heard of them, even though they're super famous or whatever. I don't know. So that's what episode, and to put it in a nutshell, the size of Topeka, that's what episodically modular is. That's how an episodically modular comes to be born. Also I was buying time, not because our Hollywood announcer was late, but because, he's just, I was just basking. And so here's the honest truth about, our Hollywood announcer. Occasionally, I like to try to give him the giggles, because there's nothing better than sitting here recording and having a one-person audience who loves the audience, who is not a proxy of the audience, because Antonio's here for you, not for Antonio. Antonio's not here to fall asleep. He's here to drive, whatever, 14 hours, just to briefly say something that apparently, according to experts, we could record on Zoom or some other platform. I mean, there's a great platform called Squadcast, but Antonio Antonio wants his presence to be here. But sometimes when he's trying, like he knows that I don't want any noise on the microphone, and I'm sitting here saying stuff that could be considered nonsensical if you're awake. And he even gave me he was laughing and giving me the go. If you want, you say, what's cuter than a kitten? Antonio Banderas suppressing a giggle. Because it's time for a Hollywood announcer, Mr. Antonio Banderas. This is the friends beyond the binaries, the ladies, the gentlemen, the boys, the girls. It's time to get sleepy. It's time to make great pets. Scooter recently did a crossover with Get Sleepy. So I'd heard that. So that's what. But I was thinking of something else. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Get something. But it's time to meow. Yeah. Thanks, Antonio. That's totally fine. I know. I don't know what you were thinking of. I would bet it was Get Smart, right? Or Get Shorty. He shrugged. He doesn't even know. But he'd probably get out of here because Scoots keeps trying to make me giggle. I liked your fake giggle. Was that a professional giggle that you just did before when you came on the mic? Do you have a professional giggle? Oh, okay. No, I'm not an actor, so I wouldn't know. You're professionally giggling on behalf of your characters? Not a good way to... Okay, but this time for Make Great Pets, everybody. Hey, everybody, my name is Rin, and sometimes I talk fast. I had a slight piece of feedback from... because we don't have so I have to explain everything why I'm here and what I'm doing. And that was just a reminder that I was left. But also a note that your name is, make sure you pronounce your name Rin. Rin. Sometimes they say Rin. It could confuse people who are listening. Who, if you're listening, you're most likely a trainee in the same program I am in, or a trainer, or you're developing a training program based on my experiences working in this program. But just in case this is the first time you're listening, or for historical reasons, because that was another thing that was reiterated to me. They say, well, what if what happened with the other stuff happens with our program, but somebody listens to your recordings? Maybe it would help them know where. Then they said, where you went wrong, Rin. And they said, you mean our program? So I'm in a program. I'm a post-earthly human, which is only my terminology. But, I lived a life on Earth, and then I headed to the big farm in the sky. For me, it was the proverbial one. It wasn't there, but I do point out there is a big farm. Technically not in your sky, and I don't know if that's ironic. Like, I don't know what you'd call it. Like, I never asked, but they said, yeah, there's the big farm in the sky, and it's in the sky, but not the same sky as you have. But we're not supposed to explain what post-earthly life is like because it's hard to fathom. Which this might not be as hard to fathom. They said, hey, we've got a couple opportunities for you. And one of these is working in a program, helping people at turning points in their lives. And we thought you'd be great for it and you'd probably enjoy it. And I said, isn't there a beach? I know there's a big farm in the sky. Is it like a regular beach on the water? And they laughed, and they said, that's not what you really want. And I said, you're right, I guess. Plenty of time for that, Rin. So I signed up for this program. They said it's a new one, and they gave me some basic history. So basically, but you've probably heard some of the myths or stories you've been told about post-earthly existence, and maybe even, and again, this isn't to say this is the only way. This is just one program that's happening now when I'm recording this. Could be a different part, like I could be from a different, whatever, layer of the universe. But so there was a time on Earth where there was guardian friends or guardian angels, they were even called, who were there to help you during turning points in your lives. There was also multiple post-earthly existences depending on, I don't know if well, this is what I'm told. So, but that based on your choices, they had different post-earthly existences. But maybe those were also to influence your choices on Earth. I don't know. But at some point, I know you've probably heard of the Bezos Penny Sears incidents or incidences, but so there was the post-earthly existence that wasn't great. They ended up doing away with that area. And they tried to replace it as a startup type business, but they also said, well, also, what if we send people that made not great choices on Earth back to Earth to help people with their turning points in their lives? That did not work out. For that particular Earth, they had, luckily we had to restore it, they had to do a reset or whatever. Or that's what I'm told to tell you. But but don't worry. You don't have to worry about it. You're listening, so you're fine. Then there was also I don't know if it was on the same one or whatever, but the same people, because it was the incidences. Then there was a sabbatical with someone in charge, and the guardian angels. You're fallible, even when even at post-earthly humans are still fallible. Kind of like if you get oil on your clothes, it's tough to get it out, right? So then, the Guardian Angel program also did not work out. I guess is a short version. Due to Bezos Penny Sears, they disrupted that program and that particular post-earthly destination. And anyway, but then they said, well, people on Earth still want, we want to help. We've been there. We know what it's like to be fallible and human. I think it's just you see, we want to help people, and we have people we remember we really care about. And they said, well, what about something less powerful to help people to help humans make better choices? And that's a program I'm a part of, which is called Make Great Pets, which really isn't a great way to describe it. But basically, I'm sent into a pet, or I appear within a pet, which is hard to describe. But you've seen enough films and stuff. I don't totally control the pet, but I can influence the pet. And I'm within the pet. When the pet rests, I can record journals and check my stuff. But again, that's too post-earthly. It'd be hard for you to understand how I'm recording something within the subconscious of a pet, which may or may not have a subconscious. So I'm in a pet, and I show up. I'm not prepared. Like it is like those other shows where I just end up there and I got to figure it out. Again, part of our limited power, and I can only barely influence the pet to do stuff, but we're at a turning point in someone's life and we'd have to figure out who that person is, which because we're their pet, that part is kind of easy. But because, what are you going to do? Help the wrong person? If you're trying to help them at a turning point in their lives. So I guess that could be a problem with the program, but I don't see it as a negative of the program. So we're there to help someone at a turning point in their lives. If you figure it out and you help them make good choices. Now, I'm pretty sure there might be other programs running, but I can't get a clear thing on that. So, okay, so who, what, where, when, wow, how, give us the real details. So I'm on my just finished up my first day. And this is interesting. Luckily, I'm in a room with mirrors. I'm in a dorm room, and it's a suite, apparently, though I have not left the suite because I'm nearly fully contained. And I'm here in the room, Reg's room. Reg who is my caretaker. I am a leopard gecko, and my name is Georgie. And so I'm in a thing which is designed for gerbils and stuff. So I have tubes. I can move around the room a lot. But apparently Oh, you say, how do you know all this? Well, we'll get to that, but it'll make sense. But apparently, if I get out of my cage, I'm going to run around. But I got a lot of things I can run around here. So I am, even though I'm a gecko, I'm a bit like a leopard. I'm like, so that's cool. But on Reg's desk, there's 2 places for me to go. So I do feel close to Reg. And I do like my setup here. Though comparatively, I mean, I might like it because of the body I'm in. Okay, so we're in a dorm room, but it's in a suite, and there's a new roommate here. That's where I got all my info from. And by the way, whoever's planning this has happened more than once or something similar, which is really helpful figuring out who, what, where, when, why, how. Those are the questions, in some sense, you want to uncover so you could get started. And so this new roommate, Santina, came in and met Reg. And also school is only online, even though they're all living together. Like it's in some sort of like their contained living situation currently. And Santina eventually like worked their way in, like they were in a waiting period, and now they're here. But now you can only really, most of the socializing goes on online. And oh boy, is our social calendar full online just starting tomorrow. Because Reg is a big part of this college's or university's Futurist club. And I said, Futurist club? That sounds interesting. And so the Futurist club and the Model United Nations Club for this university is doing some sort of simulation game for the real United Nations starting tomorrow, where they're going to work as a team. And I think there's other teams in other places working on this, or maybe other things. So it's like I don't understand it all, to be honest, but the Model United Nations Club is working with the Futurist Club. And so the Futurist Club has people who have interests like Reg outside of just Model United Nations. So I guess it's like an experiment, right? Or if they say, hey, let's, because Santina was not interested. The Santina was like, what? Is it like, how many people are at this? Like Santina's mostly focused on romantic interests, to be honest, is all I heard. And also with a lot of questions about Reg's romantic involvement, which seems to be, well, to quote Santina, nilch or something, or zilch or gilch, but so a lot of questions that I kind of tuned out, because I said, am I here? Like, and then Santina was like offering Reg a lot of unsolicited advice on dating and romantic life. But the thing was that Reg was trying to redirect her attention, because Reg is barely containable with excitement about tomorrow and this thing. It sounds really cool. So I'm going to get some rest, and then I'll be back tomorrow to explain how things went, I guess. Oh, hey, it's me, Rin. So you probably just heard a pause, but really like a whole day's gone by. And so it's the end of day one. And Reg is trying to wind down. Santina just left, or when I fell asleep, Reg was trying to wind down. And let's see, okay, where should I start at the beginning or the work my way? Like, so there was a lot of fireworks at the end of the day, and Santina showed up at the end of the day, but the whole day was spent in a room. I guess, I don't know if a lot of it was like over my head a bit, because it's happening online, but it was kind of like it was in person. Not everybody's camera was on all the time. They were using these different platforms to communicate, and phone and text message or facing. So video conference or whatever, I guess that's what you'd call it. And so there's like people from the UN. That's the thing. Reg is like, tried to explain to Santina at one point, like, this could be, there's also futurists there that are working with the UN. It's not just this is what Reg said, boring members of the United Nations. It's like people interested in this stuff. So again, the day started with excitement. And they taught, well, first it was really boring, to be honest, because there was like an opening thing and a bunch of speeches. But that was when Reg was having breakfast and I was eating breakfast and so there was also socializing going on while there was the pomp and circumstance. Okay, then they basically said, each group, this isn't a competition because it's about the future and how could futurists in the model, like how could the United Nations and futurists work together? Which I guess it probably is a thing. I don't know. I never followed this kind of stuff. But people that are futurists, I didn't know exactly what that meant. But it could be someone that likes building robots. It could be someone that programs a computer. It could be someone that writes science fiction or any other kind of speculative fiction. It's just people that wonder what the future is. That's my impression. I'm not a positive, though. I mean, yesterday, Santina did say futurist. What's that? And Reg said people that are interested in what the future will be like. When's like tomorrow? Okay, but so today they offer, like it was like, and they actually opened up an envelope, which was cool, even though it was very just for drama, because then they messaged everybody. That was a part of Reg's team, which is just at this school. But there was other teams, and I don't know if they were getting the same thing or not, because I don't know, I don't understand that part, but it's not that important. So there's like this, they get a challenge that they're dealing with, and they had 10 years, but that was by tomorrow, to develop something. And it was kind of two-pronged. One was like globally, there was like a lot of people, like there was economic, people were looking for work. And a lot of people weren't engaged in employment worldwide. And that was causing, like a lot of issues. But that was a secondary thing to something that was also happening, which was also a cause of the people being out of work. Which was like the kaiju, which I feel like this is, I don't know, I feel like this is, I've been on my mind or whatever, but so they were saying, you have 10 years to figure out these kaiju are coming. We don't know where they're coming from. And at some point they're going to, they've knocked down some coastal stuff, but mostly, we've been able to kind of like, we're struggling with how to deal with it. You have 10 years to figure it out within that environment. Now, Reg and everybody was just laughing because I guess this is pretty standard in fiction. So they said, so they said, well, there's an established way to deal with this. So is there a reason, should we just come up with pros or cons, which is like giant robots, I guess. And they said, this is the obvious solution. Is that why they're doing it? Or is it just, so they debated that for a few hours, but then they, said, okay, we have to have this proposal in by the end of the day for the 10 years. And they kind of pitched other ideas, but they said, yeah, there's really nothing better than especially like it would take a ton of marshaling of resources worldwide. And of creative figuring out how they were going to finance it, but is something the whole globe could of course they said there's going to be, they're mostly, this was the model UN people. They said it's a chance for everybody to work together. And by trying to solve the one thing, we'll also solve the other one. And again, they said maybe there's these other like smaller issues that they didn't list in the brief or the challenge that we could also work on globally. But they said, is this possible to do? And the futurists kind of said, well, 10 years, and then they this is a cool thing is you wouldn't think this, but there's historians that are futurists. And they said not 10 years to so they said, yeah. So they said they couldn't find any reason not to do this giant robot program. So that was it. And then they kind of put everything together. And Reg really was, Reg is big into that kind of fiction. And Reg is kind of like one of the daydreamers they call. Like Reg is into the fiction and stuff like that. And so Reg's like, well, in this movie or this show, or whatever. And they said, we just have to come up with a program. Like, we don't have to figure out the actual specifics, just if it's possible within this 10-year time frame to get it, and it'll solve these two things. But Reg, I really feel like, wasn't like like they had early on, they assigned kind of leadership roles, and Reg wasn't in a leadership role, but Reg's excitement and, well, Reg wouldn't be considered the most, this is like, Reg is like a bit like me, a bit different, I'd say. And so, but people, first people were socially feeling, but like as the day wore on, they spent 16 hours together. Reg really started to just get to know people, and really everybody was there. There was a couple of people that dropped out that weren't there to be team players, that didn't get what they were looking for. And there was observers there, and they were actually commenting, because you would have said, well, is this if you had to clarify something? But here's the only wrinkle that happened today, other than Santina. Some people didn't have their cameras on. And so at the socializing time, after the proposal was submitted, there was one group of people, or suites that had more than one person in the Model UN in the same suite, roommates or whatever. And she turned her camera on, Gina, and Reg spun his chair around like 3 or 4 times. And there was fireworks going off. But the problem was that Santina showed up right around that time when everybody's socializing. But while the Reg kind of was love at first sight feelings. And Santina caught that. So then after things ended, Reg and then Reg's emotions crested for the day. Reg should have just gone to bed, but Santina wanted to start to give Reg romantic advice about Gina, because it was hard for Reg to hide, oh, wow, we worked together all day. I don't know, I'm a little bit concerned because Santina's you can't be, I wasn't here all day to watch you. Were you, talking about this, you were talking about giant robots? So Santina was giving Reg a lot of advice about how tomorrow Reg needs to be very dominant and be in control and don't do anything embarrassing. So I don't know about that. So I don't know, but we'll see. I guess it doesn't really matter because Santina hopefully won't be here. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm gonna get some sleep and then I'll come back. Okay, hey, it's me again, and Rin. This should only be one recording. That's the way it works if you're inside a pet's subconscious, by the way. So, okay, so this is my 3rd day being here completed. And today was different. So, they said, so the challenge that got presented to Reg and the team was after, so they said, okay, you were able to establish the robot program, and it did bring, it did unify a large portion of the globe. But they said also that right now it's projected that this will just be a standstill. And then Reg said, I knew this would happen. But they said, Reg said, they said, it'll be a standstill, and eventually the kaiju will, figure out, they'll evolve faster than the humans. And then Reg was already ready to work, but they said, it was decided you weren't consulted about the next solution, which was to help start some of this, whatever, I don't know what it's called, but like they started to use, instead of having people, they started to make the machines more as close to sentient as they could, so that hopefully they could evolve as fast or faster than the kaiju. And so they said the problem is that so there's going to be a standstill that we're eventually going to lose, even with that, and that more than likely that this new level of machine intelligence is going to backfire against us, and is projected by this is funny, by futurists. Futurists are concerned that this could become also either a parallel problem or the problem. But Reg so today did not go great because that was a complex challenge. But also Reg kind of was like, started the day off on like the wrong feet, Santina's feet, and doing a lot of pushing, a lot of interrupting, and a lot of trying to be the leader. Reg is not necessarily, Reg was not being Reg's self, and trying to make jokes that weren't funny. And Santina would come in and criticize, they say, turn, and then Santina said, maybe I should take over. And so like, I don't know, halfway through the day, I said, I got to do something here because this is at least a turning point. And at least Santina got bored. And Reg kind of like withdrew eventually because it was Reg was rebuffed so many times because they said, well, we need to figure out solution. We know you were right, Reg. But we didn't know that there would be this other machine challenge. So we have to figure things out. And someone even said, you're acting like a big drunk robot to Reg. And also Reg was constantly trying to apologize to Gina. And so then I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I think I got to help Reg because, but it's like, what is the turning point here, right? Or what am I supposed to help with? Because I feel like Reg is like listening to, and they said, well, Reg is kind of gone instinctual, but on somebody else's instincts. And Reg was kind of being himself yesterday, and it went good. And so I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was thinking like most of the day, and I was doing a lot of running. And I guess what worked out was that I was so, like, after Reg started to withdraw, and Reg decided to comfort me, which I didn't even know you could comfort a lizard, but Reg just talked to me and called me over and said, Georgie, come here, Georgie, sit by me. And even told me, and this is private, I guess, but Reg was feeling down and a little bit embarrassed. And I guess, the cool thing is I can make eye contact with Reg. And I was able to just use my body language to show I was being soothed because I was being soothed, but also to be soothing. And I just kept trying to look in Reg's eyes. And then Reg apologized to me for seemingly getting me wound up. But I guess that's my state anyway. But whatever, it worked. Maybe I was kind of doing it on purpose. I don't even know. So then Reg apologized to the group and said, hey, I'm sorry. I guess I was I had fun yesterday, but I don't know what's going on with me today. Just a basic apology saying, I was trying to totally lost track of where I was and all that kind of stuff. And everybody accepted it. And Reg apologized, even though Reg was just messaging Gina. It's Reg said, hey, yeah, sorry, I want to help build towards the solution. And they said, well, what do you think from where we are now? Because we had, basically the whole day the first half of the day had gotten wasted, right? By saying, what are we going to do? We can't shut down the robots. And it was like one of the ideas was to have the robots build defenses or off. And they said, well, if the robots are going to, then like they could, so they went back and forth about these grand solutions, right? And Reg was like, huh, if are we allowed? And then they asked, Reg said, first Reg asked the group, but then they asked the UN. Reg said, well, are we allowed to ask like questions or establish a committee to investigate instead of taking action? And they said, well, what do you mean? And Reg said, one thing we never figured out was like, Reg was about to say something, and then Santina came in right when that happened. And then somebody said, what were you about to say, Reg? And then Santina was like, it kind of created a commotion. And then someone said, well, were you going to say there were weak points? But Reg kind of shut down again because Santina was like, did I hear you apologizing? So Reg had to mute and turn the camera off. And then they said, okay, let's establish, can we do an inquiry into their weaknesses? And they said, well, weren't like UN said, well, aren't you looking? Okay, well, you could increase your budget, but of course you're already looking into those kind of things. And then Reg kind of got rid of, like, Santina was like, you can't apologize, if you like someone, like you can't show weakness. And then Reg said, could you just please, like, I'm trying to get to, like, I can't focus on these things, and never mind. Like, thank you for your help, like, trying to get Santina out of the room. And then someone else, while that was happening, came up with the idea, because they kept going like, okay, this is like some sort of mutually, like the best we could hope for is that's unlikely that the stalemate would continue, like somebody's going to win. And then Reg finally came back, and Reg said, sorry, we got interrupted again. And they said, well, we're kind of stuck here. Like, what are we going to do? And I said, wait a second. And noticed that Reg hadn't eaten in a long time that day. Neither did I. So I started knocking my food bowl. And, but really I was thinking of something else, which I was hoping Reg would figure out. So I don't want to brag too much, because if I say it, it'll sound like I'm bragging. But so I was knocking my food bowl. And then Reg said, oh, okay, yeah, I got to feed you, huh? And so then Reg just said, and then they came back, and the time was going down. But Reg said, well, what if we try to figure out, like, what would the robots want? Like, what would the machines want? And what would the, could we switch that committee just beyond weak points to figure out what do the machines want and what are the guys you want? And then they kind of ended it there. And, they didn't socialize because everybody was kind of fed up. So I'm going to get some rest. I'll be back. This is Ren. Okay. Hey, this is Ren again. So this is actually after, I guess, Reg kind of said, hey, today, Santina, can you just stay out of my room the whole day? I don't have to lock my door. And Reg planned out eating and, said, maybe it was that I was, hungry, or I was, a bit annoyed by Santina. So they had a team meeting first, and Reg said, hey, let's make sure we're all eating and drinking water. And then they were talking about it, and everybody, this is college or whatever, university. So everybody was pretty cool, and everybody was still having fun. And they knew that kind of today was the day to wrap up. But then Reg was like, wait a second, we asked what they wanted, not what they needed. And they said, what do you even mean? And Reg said, well, if we figure out what they need, it might be different than what they want. So I got so confused yesterday about wanting to kind of be the best and impress everybody on the team. To be honest, that's why I was acting that way and wanting people to like me, really. And everybody's nodding because most of the people in these clubs, they could relate. And so they said, okay. And to be honest, most humans could relate. You say, okay, I know what it's like to feel like a little bit left out and then to push too hard. And so it kind of made them bond more. But then when they got the brief for the day, they said, yeah, things are not looking good. Like you've seen what they want, which is like, the kaiju want to kind of access all of our, half-life, like anything with a half-life. That's what they're really trying to get at. And, the AI or the, whatever will probably make us, use us as they want to become the main. You said to say in other films, Reg even said, maybe we'll end up being batteries or whatever. So they said the only thing, there was one thing in the brief. Again, these kids are way smarter than me. I'm not trying to be but they figured out, they said, well, wait a second. There's a thing we could do where we could what if it wasn't mutually assured thing? What if it was that they wear each other down? And they were talking about different examples in nature. So this was a biologist futurist saying, hey, there's all these examples in nature sometimes of one being wearing another being down. And they said, well, maybe we could design something like that. And they were talking for most of the day. And again, things kind of swung back. But it didn't feel like it was wait a second. And they had proposed those questions at the beginning of the day of okay, if we know what they want, what do they need? And actually, at some point, the UN came back and they said, you should be able to figure out what they need with the information you have. It's pretty obvious, but it's not obvious. And then they said, well, if we brainstorm and we say it, can you tell us? And they said, probably. And then they kind of went through stuff and they said, okay, wait a second. So what did you say, Reg? They're going to use this as batteries. So this was Gina, actually. And Reg said, yeah. And they said, and the kaiju are trying to get to stuff that was once used or is currently used in power or offense. Right? And Reg said, yeah. And so said, they both are looking for, maybe this is their food, their power. You're the one that said you didn't eat enough. How did you know that? And Reg said, well, because my leopard gecko was running around and hitting its food cup. And they all had they never had seen me before just because I can't come, so Reg had to turn the camera and it was you couldn't get a good view of me anyway. So then they went to a new model because they said, okay, they both want power in a different form, right? And then someone said, there's this, because they said, this was the biologist. They said, well, I've always thought about this idea, your gecko reminded me that there's something like a gecko that lives in warm areas, and it's got a big, long snout that it keeps open sometimes when it's hanging out in the sun. And there's a bird that lands there. And even though this big, long snout thing would usually use birds for food, this bird eats they said it's a flossing bird. And I said, yeah, it's a flossing bird. And they say, yeah, flossing bird. And it's some sort of something in evolution. And, but it's a win-win, both of them win. It's not, at anybody's expense. And they said, okay, so if we could come up with something with power, and they said, well, actually that's been the problem. We never reached that, next level of fission fusion. They said, but if the kaiju really just want to do that, maybe we could find a place for them to live where they could do that, to eat all of it, the leftovers that they want. And maybe, but also that if if those robots or the machine sentience needs power, wouldn't they just leave us alone? Because we could fix them and stuff. They might still need us. And they definitely will need us to intervene. And Reg said, yeah, wait a second. Like, what if, I talked to my gecko when it was running around, not when I fed it. Those are two separate incidences. And they say, what if there's some sort of only, like, human thing we could do for both of them? In addition to providing for this need, maybe there's even another need we could provide. And just the fact that we're intervening on both their behalfs so that there be tons of power for humans and for machine beings. But also we wouldn't have to worry about what's left over because the kaiju would eat that. And they said, and then they wrote it all up. This part was like a thing. And then actually, now this one was really thing like Reg on Reg's own, kind of like, and I think it was pretty fast for feelings to crest, said, yeah, maybe like I don't need to be like we're all like, everybody said, let's hang out together. Maybe we'll play some D&D. And, but someone else actually in the group said, oh, Reg, seems like you like private message, like Gina. Reg said, yeah, but maybe we're just supposed to be friends, or maybe we could see how, like, if we're friends online, after we debubble, we could see what happens. And so that kind of worked out, too. So I don't know if I did too much, but I was here for it. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if this is but I was being myself, Reg was being Reg's self. So I don't know. I guess it worked. So that's Ren reporting in, and I'm going to get some sleep in this animal. And next time I'll be in somebody else. All right. I want to thank everybody that became a patron recently. I want to thank Deborah, Boston, and Heather. Thank you. Thanks. Good night. Trevi, Grace and Stacy, thank you, thanks, and good night. David, Evan, and Elizabeth, thank you, thanks, and good night. Kevin, Ava, and Catherine, thank you, thanks, and good night. Bruce, Josh, and Book, thank you, thanks, and good night. And Emily, Tom, and Wanda, thank you, thanks, and good night. Thanks, everybody who supports the show directly. That's how I bring the show for free twice a week. And thanks to everybody who supports the sponsors. That's another way to help the show. But you can also help the show for free. Just spread the word. So a lot of people, whether it's social media or forum you're on or in person, even if you don't want to share about Sleep With Me, it actually is a huge help to other people. Tell them about podcasts in a low, soft sell way. Say, hey, this is the podcast app I use. This is what I like about it. This is stuff I enjoy to listen to. And plant the seed. Maybe they'll check it out. We also have over 500 episodes in our free archives that you could check out as well. I have my mind blanked. Oh, and here's the Talk You In sponsor, Scoots. That's how we grew all those archives. Thanks and good night.